We are following major breaking developments in the criminal case against James Comey, the former FBI director, just now making some key filings in the federal indictment against him, trying to get the case thrown out. So let's get off the sidelines and go into the arena. My panel is here, but first, let's get right to scene and crime and justice correspondent Caitlin Polans with those filings. I know you're looking through them. Caitlin, we know James Comey was going to argue a few things to try and get a judge to dismiss this case. Take us through what you're seeing.
Well, Pam, the big one here is that Comey's team is using Donald Trump's words, or attempting to use his own words, against him, trying to get this case dismissed by saying, look at what Trump has ordered the Justice Department to do. So I'm talking about a filing. It's called a selective or vindictive prosecution filing, meaning that Comey's team is arguing to a federal judge that Comey should not have been charged with a crime here, and the reasons that he were charged were not good ones. In this argument, they say that Comey had been a critic of Trump. Trump had a years-long personal animus against Jim Comey, just totally hated him. And they're arguing that Donald Trump is the person that said to the Justice Department, you must prosecute Jim Comey. And if that had not happened, this case wouldn't exist. One of the things that the defense team writes here is that they say it's smoking gun evidence that Donald Trump has said on social media over and over again how much he hates Jim Comey, and that is the reason that this case should be dismissed. They even attach 60 pages of social media posts. Some are Comey's criticisms of Donald Trump in the public sphere, but those 60 pages, I paged through them. It is largely times that Donald Trump has written on the platform X, on Truth Social, and in other venues that he really doesn't like Jim Comey. So that is now going to be at issue before the judge, and the judge will have to look and see whether that's enough to dismiss this case.
Yeah, he has certainly made that clear. And ahead of these filings from James Comey, the Justice Department is taking issue with his defense attorney in the case. What's going on there?
Pam, that is something that has come up today in this case. This is because there are documents from back in 2017 where James Comey was talking to his lawyers whenever he was dealing with his what we called Comey memos at the time, the memos he wrote about his interactions with Donald Trump. What happened is that the Justice Department wants access to those records. They're currently being held by what's called a filter team, so a group of lawyers that keep them separate from the prosecutors because they are attorney-client communications. And to get access to them, this Justice Department, these prosecutors are going to the judge and saying, well, we think there may be a conflict of interest here. There may be an issue with one of Comey's lawyers, the lead lawyer in this case, Pat Fitzgerald, who's defending him. They're not asking to get rid of Pat Fitzgerald on this case right now, but they are insinuating that he may have an issue going forward. But his team, Comey's team, Pat Fitzgerald, they're writing to the judge and say, they're just trying to defame us. They're just trying to misdirect things. This is not a real issue here in this case.
All right, Caitlin Polans, thank you so much as always. My panelists here in the arena. CNN legal analyst Elliot Williams, chief Washington correspondent for Puck News, Leanne Caldwell, former communications director for the DNC, Mo Lathey, and Republican strategist Doug Heye, and former Trump attorney Bill Brennan. Also want to note, on the left side of your screen, you'll see our arena text chain. That's where we're sharing additional analysis from a few of our top reporters and contributors. All right, so Elliot, I want to start with you. Yeah. What we just heard from Caitlin about this filing from Comey's team.
Yeah. To be clear, it is notoriously difficult to win a dismissal on the basis of vindictive or selective prosecution because a defendant has to get inside the heads of prosecutors and establish that they were thinking something bad when they brought the case, that they brought the case on some improper basis or on, that he was exercising his free speech rights and was prosecuted for that. So they're really hard to win, except when you have a president of the United States issuing statements in writing over a period of years calling for the prosecution of a particular defendant. This might be the one case that tests this very hard body of law. But what they're going to have to establish is that, number one, there were other people in the world who could have been charged with the same crime, but this defendant, Jim Comey, was singled out on account of his behavior, right? And you have those statements from the president. it's mind-boggling that the president has put as much in writing as he has, because that might jeopardize the whole case. And so we'll see what they
the
do.
latest was that Truth Social post. I think we have it when he called on his attorney general to prosecute him and two other perceived enemies. So that was Adam Schiff, Letitia James. Letitia James has also been indicted. If Comey is successful here, what is the likelihood that that ruling on vindictive prosecution could spread to other Trump adversaries like Letitia James and also John Bolton?
Yeah, well, the very nature of this kind of motion is that it's particular to a defendant, the circumstances related to him. Now, Jim Comey's in a different place, certainly, than John Bolton, because Jim Comey's been identified by name multiple times by the president in a way that John Bolton hasn't. They just become more complicated cases. Now, every one of these defendants, because they were all charged in rapid succession in relation to each other, they can point to the others and say, wait a second, look, there's a pattern of people who've spoken out against the president who have all been charged with crimes. Again, they're all going to be treated differently, but the timing just does not work well to prosecutors' favor in this case.
I wonder, Bill, what you think about this as Trump's former attorney, this filing in the case that they're saying and pointing to the president's own words against James Comey as a way to prove in their case vindictive prosecution.
Well, Pam, I think it's the smart thing to do on behalf of Mr. Fitzgerald and his team. I'd do it myself if I were in his shoes. Having said that, I agree with Elliot. It's an uphill battle. And this particular president is not bashful about letting his feelings known about the weather, people he likes, people he doesn't like. But what must be remembered here is that the grand jury indicted Mr. Comey, not the president. Ms. Halligan, the U.S. attorney, could have filed an information. That is simply the U.S. attorney writing a document saying, I charge you with X or Y. I would prefer, if I was defending Mr. Comey, to have all these things and use them. But, I don't know that it'll be successful. Anything in writing on either side is a problem because, it doesn't go away. We had a mayor in Philadelphia, my hometown, Mayor Frank Rizzo, and he used to say, never write a letter and never throw one away. And it shows the impact of writing. But they're going to have to get around the fact that a grand jury indicted Mr. Comey. And as Elliot said, I agree, that's an uphill battle. So I think that's going to be a dogfight.
And as you noted, this is a case where Trump's silence moving forward will be critically important, having worked with him before. And as you point out, he likes to talk about everything, like the weather, whatever is on his mind, right? How would you be advising the president as this case plays out?
Well, if I could get in a room with him about all of these pending cases, I would say, Mr. President, please let the Department of Justice do their job. They're very good at it. And just, don't say anything. Keep your mouth shut, basically. But and I think he will. I think, frankly, and I don't think I heard Elliot mention the Bolton case. I really think that the Comey case, the James case, and the Bolton case are different. The Bolton case is an 18-count speaking indictment indicted by a President Biden appointee, prosecuted by a long-term national security prosecutor, Mr. Sullivan. That case is a problem on its own, and it's been lingering for about 5 or 6 years. These cases, though, with selective and vindictive prosecution, selective is you pick one of a group who could be prosecuted, and you pick that person.
Right. I want to bring in some of our other analysts here. Doug, how do you view this as a Republican?
Look, part of Donald Trump's strategy isn't about necessarily sending James Comey to jail or anybody else. He likes using that language because it silences a lot of the opposition. As long as he's messing with their lives, he's having a good time with it. And I think we sort of forget that as we look at the legal machinations. This is all basically Donald Trump not playing three-dimensional chess. He's playing checkers. And that's how he operates, and we sometimes lose that.
What do you think, Mo?
I don't disagree with Doug at all. But look, this whole thing, and going back to Elliot's earlier point, this is a president who can't help himself. He just can't help himself, and he needs to be out there. He needs to be poking and trolling the opposition, and he needs to let everyone see what's in his head at all times. Republicans, his people are always touting he's the most transparent president in modern history. Well, in this case, they're absolutely right. he is being very transparent. He is showing people his vindictiveness, and it seems like there's a very real possibility he could come back and bite him where it hurts in terms of this prosecution.
Of course, it's different in a legal sense, but as you'll recall, Leanne, during the campaign, he said, "I am your retribution," right?
Yeah.
He put that out there.
Yeah, and what's interesting is you're seeing what the priorities of the president are through the Justice Department, through what these districts are, what sort of crimes they are charging and what sort of things that they are prosecuting. And retribution is very high on that priority list. I'm waiting to see what charges they're going to find for Adam Schiff. That's another person
that was the third.
that Donald Trump has really been talking about wanting the Justice Department to prosecute. Obviously, they haven't found anything yet, but I'm sure they're trying.